much. Thanks, Alex, and thank you, Vincula Group's colleagues and participants. I'm going to talk today about the how to build a profitable triple bottom line, because business cases are a method of thinking about the future, typically based on the company's direction, the company's vision, but profitability is what challenges and eludes people when they try to talk about the triple bottom line. And I'll start by looking at a number of misconceptions we have about the triple bottom line. So the first one, and the sort of very difficult one to remove it from the public mindset, is that triple bottom line is the same with ESG. And I'll go shortly and explain how they are, what do they have in common, and also what's different about them. The other misconception I would like to dispel today is triple bottom line. It's about reducing profitability. And there are examples of companies that had claimed that because of sustainability, they are losing the competitive edge. And this is, again, a misconception and a false narrative. The third one is you get the certification and you're automatically doing the triple bottom line, like big corporation certified, big corporation incorporated as a big corp, or all kinds of certifications about ESG and so on. So very quickly, what's the difference between ESG and the sustainability? When we come at sustainability reporting, we're looking from inside the company toward the society and the environment. So it is the inside-out impact, it's an inside-out reporting, it's an inside-out strategy. The ESG is the opposite, it's the outside-in impacts. So if you think of a business, finance, insurance, and how the society looks at ESG, is what is the impact of the company through the ESG disclosures on the environment and society. So one, it's and the rest of the day I'll talk today. The rest of the day I'll talk about sustainability reporting, but I wanted to make sure that it's not confused with ESG disclosures and the ESG ratings. So let's start with what the triple bottom line, which it's almost 30 years old now, and it was a vision by Elkington that I think he published an article in the in one of the MIT reviews or Harvard Business Review, and he said a company can be managed in a way that not only makes money, profitability, but which also improves people's lives and well-being of the planet. So he was really an early pioneer of thinking about the impact on the environment and the impact of the society of the companies. This was about 20 years after Milton Friedman enunciated his shareholder supremacy concept in an article about what really is the essence of capitalism. So let's dwell a little bit in the triple bottom line. It is also known as the 3 Ps: the planet, the people, the profits, and it delivers a number of advantages. I listed here some, and when we distribute the slides, we can see on what are the values, not only in terms of economics, which are very clearly measured, especially in public companies through quarterly and annual reports, but also the social values and the environmental values. One thing which is very important to think about today, it's, for instance, attracting and retaining employees. Generation Z, it's in particular sensitive to companies that have a purpose and a mission statement to protect the society and the environment. Also an important factor, it's when you think of strategy, you should start with limiting the physical and the human waste. So when you build a triple bottom line business case, you have to think already how the products will be developed, designed, developed, manufactured, but also how they do not end up in the landfill. By design, they can be either most of the components, most of the parts can be recycled, or they don't even consume a lot of they don't end up in human waste, they don't end up in product waste by not being designed properly from the beginning. So another very critical element today is the supply chain risks. So combined with environmental, now as we look at the supply chain distortions, we should also look at the origin of the inputs of the materials used in the production facility. And that applies also in the case of human waste to services such as consulting. So to demonstrate that really the triple bottom line, the sustainability is about keeping and increasing profitability, I'll use a fairly common known business model. It's a single page model called the canvas. It has three main parts. So if you look at the business and you want to take a picture on a single page of the business plan and the business case to use for the triple bottom line, and for any business case, as a matter of fact, you have a supply side, you have a demand side. So inputs coming into the process. The demand side is what the customers and the society wants. And then on the bottom, you have a financial cost and revenue, so cost profitability on the bottom of this of the model. It's a very simple but very powerful model. And as I go through it, I'll show how this can be applied to the triple bottom line and how can actually demonstrate that the triple bottom line can be used to increase profitability if used properly. So let's start with, as I mentioned, the triple bottom line. It's about people, planet, and profits. So we back to our canvas model, business canvas model, and let's focus on people. So let's look at the demand side. How is it improved if a company improves, for instance, the customer relationship? Once it's improving the customer relationships, many research papers show that it's improving the loyalty of the customers, it's improving the number of the customers, and it's improving the, very important, it's improving the way people feel and talk about the company. This soft part of the reputational consideration that people give to a company, to a brand. It also allows, as you increase your customer relationships, it allows two things: increasing the number of customer segments, as well as the granularity of the customer segments. Without going into too many details, The key difference is that a more granular, a more detailed customer segment actually allows a more profitable model, because products and services can be customized according to a finer customer segment that is ready to have different price points according to the feature it delivers. So that's the second part. And of course, the number of channels to market increase as you focus on people, because now you see people promoting your products through their networks, through their social networks. So you create the social network channels that come with the focus on people. And also in ESG parlance, there are also named the stakeholders, right? Which includes shareholders, customers, employees, in the community the company operates. Let's look at the supply side. So who supplies these kind of services and information in order to have a focus on people? So there are the communities at large, through surveys, through media, they can reach the company once you open the communication channel. Employees, essential, as I mentioned in the previous slide. Non-governmental agencies and schools and universities also are key partners when we talk about people's focus. What activities we have are research and communications. And as I mentioned, the key resources are employees, volunteers, and consultants. So balancing supply and demand, you can see on this slide how we can increase demand and connected to the supply of information in order to have a, or when we have a focus on the people, on the stakeholders. Let's focus on the planet. So first thing, nothing changes. People are people. And now we're looking at another perspective of the customer relationship. I mentioned previously Generation Z, for instance, which is much more sensitive to how the company performs in terms of environmental protection and environmental, taking care of the environment for their generation, the next generations. And the customer segmentation and channels pretty much remain unchanged, but what is changing on the supply side, we need now to go through our supply chain and find responsible suppliers. And I mentioned a number of sources for finding information about responsible suppliers. Responsible suppliers, I mean suppliers that are ready to consider the environmental impact, the people's impact of the activities. For instance, not using child labor, forced labor, paying decent rates, decent salaries, and so on. And also, again, on the activities, we need to change our procurement policies and take care of greenhouse gases, especially of scope 2 and 3, which are externalities or are external to the company. And the key resources remain the employees and volunteers and consultants. So you can see we changed the focus on the supply side, but we really didn't change the demand side. What are the benefits in terms of cost structure now? We can have a number of savings, some of them from a streamlined supply chain, some of them from using lower energy, the processes. Some savings are coming from installing, for instance, renewable sources of energy, especially, solar panels, for instance. So now let's look at the balance. Demand side stays the same. We added to the supply side, and we improve the cost structure of our inputs, of our of the materials and the human resources going into the process of generating products and services. Now, okay, the question about profits. So again, demand side doesn't change. What does change is really the partners in generating profits. So it's, of course, recognize that employees are part of generating profitable company, but also communities come into picture as generating or helping on the supply side with the profitability of the company. In accounting, we call it goodwill, and is this fudge factor, if you want, which says this is the value of the company that we cannot account for in simple material terms. We talked about the ESG, the supply chains, the certifications, partners, and so on in the previous slides. The key activities now focus on inside the company into the R&D, and I mentioned design, for instance, for zero waste, into the operations and delivery, marketing, and the other functions that are related to a normal operation of company, HR, finance, and so on. And the key resources are typically of two types, financial and physical. So now we have a complete picture of the increasing overall profitability, and the role of the management, the role of the governance of the company is to keep the cost down, looking at the three, looking through the lenses, looking through the perspectives of the three bottom lines, and also increasing revenue, as I said, for instance, by having better quality inputs, more reliable inputs, more diverse inputs into the manufacturing, a more diverse workforce, and a more diverse and more inclusive view of the community they operate in. So to conclude, better management of resources, innovation. I didn't talk much about innovation in this on these slides, but really both innovation for resilience and disruptive innovation, creating new processes, new methods, new materials to reduce waste and to improve or increase the efficiency of the products, of the manufacturing of the products or the services. And also it lowered the environmental impact risks, which again goes back into the financial part of the company, into the insurance. Companies insure for certain risks, and as they lower this, they lower their insurance cost. The value proposition also goes on shareholder, stakeholders, and of course a planet that is shared by all the companies and all the humans in the same time and benefit from sharing. A very quick introduction of AKFI. Our purpose is really to integrate technology, digital transformation to sustainability and ESG transformation, and create actionable strategies to increase the profitability and to also protect from catastrophic risks. And this really concludes our presentation on behalf of Vincula and the AKFI. I'll stop here for a second so people can get the addresses and how they can reach us. Thank you again. And